So right here I'm taking some remelted plastic, some leftovers that I didn't use from my last batch, and I'm actually cutting them up and making it easier to put them into this cup and actually remelt them and reuse them. With soft plastics, the best part about it is that you get to reuse the leftovers and not much goes to waste. As you can see, there's a ton everywhere. Getting an organization system to store that stuff is also key. So I'm just gonna put it in the microwave and let it heat up for a little bit, make sure I get it up to 350 degrees. Today we'll be doing some open pour molds. So the mold that has the top cavity is an open pour mold. Typically you have two types of molds. You have an open pour mold and you have an injection mold. And with an injection mold, you use a syringe-like device here to do the same process and suck up the liquid plastic and inject it into a mold, as opposed to open pouring, which we're just going to directly take the cup out of the microwave and pour it directly into the mold. It's a little more time consuming of a process, but you can get some really cool effects that you can't with injection with hand pouring. So we're getting close to getting the plastic all heated up and ready to pour into the molds. We're actually going to start by making sure we check the temperatures and check the viscosity of the plastic to make sure it's pourable. And for that I use butter knives I stole from my wife, and she's extremely happy about that, of course, as are a few things I have in the shop as well. So yeah, probably want to start with a heat glove to actually grab the plastic out of here. As I can see, it's a pretty good liquidy consistency. Pretty hot, I can tell already. Right now I'm just trying to stir it to get some of the moisture out and to make sure that there's no chunks in there from the reheat. Specifically for reheating, right now we're at 387 degrees, which is pretty warm. Most plastic requires you to get it up to 350 degrees. The higher you get on the temperature, you don't want to go beyond 400 if your plastic can even handle it. But as far as this goes, the hotter you have your temperatures, the less you have to reheat, but you also don't want it too viscous because then you won't be able to control your pour as much. So here, the key with hand pouring is to get a slow, consistent pour. From here, we just gotta wait for them to cool down. With the warmer plastic, you have to wait. Lots of times you have to take a heat gun and you have to heat up the plastic after it's already been cooled and set, so you can correct it and get more of a perfect pour. Here's one of those other tools that I've
stolen from my wife from the kitchen.
Our Pampered Chef Perry knife. It's very precise for cutting this stuff off, also precise for things in the kitchen. Too bad it doesn't do that anymore. Just cutting off the edges and stuff like that I couldn't get perfect in the initial pour is what you do with that. Yeah, just looking for any little divots, any little dimples, any places that didn't get a perfect pour is what I'm looking for here. Trying to take plastic from where it is overused and putting it into the cavities to make sure you have a nice solid even pour. So just taking the Perry knife again and getting off that stream. And see here we have a little bit of a dimple in the tail. Like I said, that typically shows up after you do a pour. First thing you want to do is just heat up that section right there, because then it allows any of the residual plastic to actually just sink in there, so you may not even need to move other plastic from the other part of the body. So right now, we have one that we just heated up and just messed with, so we're going to let that one cool off, see how those corrections go. And then now we're going to repeat that process of what we did with the initial pour and cut off the plastic that's on the edges. So using the Perry knife here, just cutting off the tail portion that we don't need. Taking a nice precise cut along the edge here, where this little sliver of plastic is over the edge. Once you think you actually have a good hand pour that you think you're satisfied with, the best part of all, take out the mold. So as you can see here, we have our swim bait. I like to put the hot plastic or any plastic that hasn't cured yet, I like to put it in a bath of cold water, because on these big baits there's a lot of plastic in the center that is pretty warm that you can't really know is cured or not. So cooling down the bait is good practice to ensure good curing. I see some little technical things I can fix on here. These are things that literally most fish and most people don't care about, but I do. I can tell you the fish will still bite the lure if there's fringes on the side of the body. It's good enough to me. We're gonna take the bath. Simple. Drop her right in. And not get water on your mold.